Tinder date that drugged me. After my 2-year relationship ended, I found myself back on Tinder, swiping more out of boredom than anything else. I matched with a girl named Tracy, but our conversations fizzled out after she gave me her Snapchat. She would occasionally watch my stories, but never said much. Then, out of nowhere, she responded to one of my snaps about Christmas. We started chatting again, and when I suggested festive activities like ice skating or walking through the holiday markets, she said, "Why don't we just decorate your Christmas tree together?" It was a bit forward, but I figured, why not? I told her to come over around 9 p.m. As soon as she walked in, I knew something was off. She was tall, easily 6 feet, and drenched in perfume, like she was trying to cover up something. She sat way too close to me on the couch, her leg pressing against mine. Something about her felt unnatural. I offered her a glass of wine to ease the tension. When we clinked glasses, she spilled red wine all over my couch. I forced a smile, assuring her it was fine, though I wanted to scream. To break the awkwardness, I suggested setting up the Christmas tree. I climbed into the attic, passing down each section of the artificial tree. When I got to the largest piece, she grabbed it with one hand, like it weighed nothing. Something about her size and strength put me on edge. Once we had the tree assembled, I went to fetch the ornaments from the crawl space. She stayed in the living room, sipping her wine. That's when I started to feel it. A wave of dizziness. I was no lightweight, but I hadn't had nearly enough wine to feel this way. My limbs were sluggish, my head was foggy. Still, I shook it off, grabbing a bin of ornaments and lugging it upstairs. When I got to the top of the stairs, Tracy was gone. I called her name, nothing. I checked the bathroom, the bedrooms, the front door. She had disappeared. I sat on the couch, my body sinking into it, my head swimming. My phone was in my hand, but I don't even remember what I was looking at before. Everything went black. I woke up in complete darkness. No TV, no lights, no sound. I felt paralyzed, like my body was refusing to move. Then the screen of my phone lit up in my hand, and in that dim glow, I saw it. A tall silhouette standing right in front of me. I blinked. My brain was still foggy. I forced out a weak, "Tracy?" No response. I picked up my phone again, turning on the flashlight. It was her. She was just standing there, staring down at me, completely motionless. I wanted to scream, but my voice caught in my throat. Then, suddenly, she spun around and sprinted toward the stairs. Loud stomps echoed through the house as she thundered down. A few seconds later, I heard a slam from downstairs. It took minutes before I could fully move again. Each passing second, my mind became clearer, my limbs more functional. I checked my phone. She blocked me. I looked out the window. No car, no sign of her. I checked the house top to bottom, searching for what she might have stolen. Then I realized it. Every single bottle of pills in my house was gone. Not just prescription stuff. Vitamins, supplements, anything in a bottle. My Adderall, my old bottle of Oxy from surgery, even my multivitamins. The police came, but all I could give them was her Snapchat name and a fake-sounding Tinder alias. They checked with my neighbor, but no one saw anything. The more I thought about it, the more I realized the truth. Tracy wasn't looking for a hookup. She was a drug addict, possibly homeless, who used Tinder to target guys who lived alone. She must have drugged my wine when I was in the attic, then waited for me to pass out before ransacking my house for anything she could sell. In that last moment, standing over me, staring, was she making sure I was still out cold? Or was she debating doing something worse? I didn't even bother finishing the tree that year. The Christmas Eve intruder. It happened on Christmas Eve, 1997, when I was 7 years old. Since we were Jewish, Christmas wasn't a thing for us. It was just another night. Our dad, a doctor, was working late at the hospital like he always did during the holidays. That left me and my 4-year-old sister home alone for the evening. Technically, our mom was there too. But to be blunt, she was an alcoholic. Being a kid, I didn't fully understand what that meant. All I knew was that once it got dark, she was completely passed out, and nothing could wake her up. So it was just me and my sister in the living room, watching TV, when we heard a knock at the door. Being the oldest, I got up to check. Our door had glass panels, so I could see the man standing outside. He was dressed in a Santa suit. He smiled and waved at me to come to the door. I thought it was weird. Why would a guy dressed as Santa be at our house? There were tons of kids in the neighborhood, kids who actually celebrated Christmas. Through the door, he said, "Hey kid, it's me Santa. Let me in, and I'll give you your presents." I didn't buy it for a second. Santa isn't real, I told him flat out. And even if he was, he doesn't give presents to Jewish kids. His smile faded. His whole demeanor changed. "Of course I'm real," he said. I used to only visit Christian homes, but this year I decided Jewish kids should get presents too. So open the door, and I'll give you yours. I shook my head. We already get presents during Hanukkah. We don't need Christmas presents. His face twisted into something else entirely. "Open the door, kid," he snapped. My stomach dropped. I turned to my sister and told her to dial 911. She picked up the phone and called, but the operator didn't take us seriously. Looking back, I think she thought we were just excited kids talking about Santa Claus. She told us the line was for emergencies only and hung up. That's when the knocking started again. "I know the cops aren't coming," the man said, "so just open up or you'll be in big trouble." My sister started crying, running upstairs to try and wake up our mom. I had no idea what to do. The only numbers I knew how to dial were 911 and our home phone number. My dad didn't have a cell phone, and I had no clue how to reach him at the hospital. And with our mom completely out cold, we were on our own. Then I got an idea. I grabbed a bunch of candles from our menorah, lit them, and ran below the smoke detector. I blew them all out at once, letting the smoke rise toward the alarm. A few seconds later, beep, beep, beep. The smoke detector blared through the house. At the time, I thought all fire alarms automatically called 911. I didn't realize how stupidly dangerous my plan was, but in that moment, it worked. The fire station was only 2 minutes away, and soon enough, we heard the screech of sirens outside. I thought for sure that the man would run, but he didn't. Instead, he ran up to the firefighters. I watched through the window as he talked to them, gesturing toward the house. I heard his muffled voice saying, "That's my house. I dressed as Santa to surprise my kids for Christmas, but my suit doesn't have any pockets for my keys. I need you to break down the door. I can't get in." And the worst part? The firefighters believed him. They started getting ready to break down the door. "No, no, no," I screamed, yanking my sister back from the entryway. We both started crying, shouting at them through the door. "That's not our dad. Our dad is at the hospital. We don't even celebrate Christmas." One firefighter hesitated. "You don't celebrate Christmas?" he asked. I shook my head violently and pulled off my kippah to show him. "We're Jewish. Look, menorah, Hanukkah candles. Please don't let him in." The firefighter's expression changed immediately. He turned back to the man in the Santa suit. "Sir," he said, "why would Santa be delivering presents to a Jewish home?" I don't remember what the man said, but the firefighters didn't buy it. Within seconds, 2 of them tackled him to the ground, holding him there while another radioed for police. They also asked which hospital our dad worked at so they could let him know what happened. Minutes later, the cops arrived and arrested the man. One officer stayed with us until our dad got home. I'll never forget the look on his face when he walked through the door. Half relief, half fury. He yelled at our mom for being so out of it, but mostly, he was just glad we were safe. To this day, I believe being Jewish saved our lives. Because if we had believed that Santa was real, if we had thought that this was a magical Christmas surprise, we might have opened the door. And if we had, I have a feeling that would have been our last Christmas Eve. The Stranger at the Airbnb. It was December 2022, and my girlfriend Charlotte and I were heading to the Pocono Mountains for a Christmas getaway. We had rented a cozy Airbnb, decked out with Christmas decorations, sitting on a large, quiet property surrounded by woods. It had a hot tub, a big deck, and was only a short drive from a small festive village. The plan was simple: relax, enjoy the snow, and have a perfect winter weekend. A snowstorm was coming that night, so we left early to get groceries and settle in before it hit. The 4-hour drive from the city was smooth, and we stopped for some snacks and essentials before arriving at the property. It was exactly like the pictures. A big log cabin-style home, glowing Christmas lights, a decorated walkway, and a giant snowman in the yard. Inside, it was warm and inviting, with a Christmas tree, stockings on the walls, and that distinct smell of wood and pine. I did my usual Airbnb routine, checking the fridge, flipping through the TV channels, looking out the windows. There was an upstairs loft with a pool table and a basement that looked more like a storage and laundry space than a place to hang out. Then there was a knock at the door. I answered it to find a man in his late 40s wearing gray sweatpants and a stained, ripped-up yellow jacket. "How are you folks doing?" he said, smiling. I asked if he was the Airbnb host, and he said he ran the place with his brother. His name was Tom. Tom said he lived just up the road and that if we needed anything, we could just call him. I thanked him, and he walked away. Something was odd. He already knew I was with my girlfriend, even though Charlotte never came to the door. Maybe the host mentioned us? Still, I had a weird feeling. Night came, the snowstorm rolled in, and we cranked up the heat. We made dinner, chicken thighs, broccoli, potatoes, and cornbread, and ate on the couch with the Christmas tree lights glowing as we watched the Polar Express. Then, we decided to hit the hot tub. We turned on the decorations outside, making the yard look magical under the snowfall. Sitting in the warm water, watching the snowflakes fall, it felt like the perfect moment. Until the bubbles suddenly stopped. And then, footsteps. Charlotte and I looked at each other. The crunching of snow was unmistakable. Someone was walking around the property. I whispered, "Should I call out?" Charlotte grabbed my arm. "No." We listened in complete silence until the footsteps faded into the woods. "Probably a deer," I said, trying to reassure both of us. But deep down I knew those were human footsteps. Later we got into the shower, but the hot water cut out after 2 minutes, leaving us screaming from the freezing cold. I messaged Mike, the Airbnb host, and he replied half an hour later, saying he'd send someone to check the water heater tomorrow. We went to bed. Then, in the middle of the night, boom, boom, loud, aggressive bangs at the front door. Charlotte shook me awake, terrified. I started to get up, but she grabbed my arm. "Don't," she whispered, "just stay quiet." The banging happened 3 more times, then stopped. We sat upright in bed, whispering to each other, hearts pounding. I locked the bedroom door, even though it didn't feel like enough. Eventually, after what felt like forever, we both drifted off again. The next morning, I messaged Mike again. He seemed genuinely confused about the knocks. "That's really strange," he said. "No idea why anyone would be out there that late. If it happens again, call the police." Not exactly reassuring, but what else could he say? I went outside to wipe the snow off my Jeep, and I saw them. Footprints. They looped around the house. I remembered the banging from the night before and wondered, was it the same person? But these footprints looked fresh. The snow had fallen all night, so any from last night should have been covered up. Then, I heard footsteps behind me. It was Tom. "Hey, buddy," he said, walking up. I told him about the hot water heater, and he nodded. "Yeah, I know. Mike sent me to check it out." I also mentioned the footsteps and the knocking. Tom looked at them, then shrugged. "Yeah, there are some strange folk out here snooping around at night, but don't worry, they're harmless." Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. Then he walked into the house. I messaged Mike, "Tom's here now, checking out the water heater." Mike replied, "Who's Tom?" I froze. "Your brother?" I typed back. His reply came fast. "I don't have a brother." My stomach dropped. I grabbed Charlotte and whispered to her to pack her things quietly. We stuffed our bags, grabbed everything we could, and ran to the car in one trip. As I got in and started the engine, I saw him. Tom, rushing toward the back of the Jeep. I threw it in drive and floored it. We sped out of there, hearts pounding, hands shaking. We called Mike on the road. "Call the police. Right now." He hung up, and 20 minutes later, he called back. Cops arrived. Nobody was in the house. Mike was on his way there, but he was shaken. "I don't know anyone who looks like the guy you described," he said. The most disturbing part? That man had been watching us from the moment we arrived. He knew we were together. He knew our routine. He was probably the one who banged on the door in the middle of the night. We don't know what he wanted, and I don't want to ever find out.